Good. Thank you for the ride. You gave me a ride in your car a little while ago around the parking lot. Tell us how you got involved in the cars.
Well, my father got into it back when I was a kid. He bought a Model A Ford, and it was a good family hobby, and we've been in it ever since. And now my son is active in it, and hopefully his kids will be too. And it's just been a great family hobby. I have all kinds of cars from. I have the 435th car registered in the state of Florida, 1905 Queen, up until I've got a 1948 DeSoto Suburban, a big old monster family car of the 40s. And I just like a little bit of every kind of cars, but mainly the earlier stuff is what we've traditionally been into. Of course, as you get older, the newer cars are a little easier to handle and stuff than some of the older ones, so you gravitate to that. But our cars, we've taken trips. My car had 13,000 miles on it when I bought it back in 89, I think it was. And I probably put 30,000 miles on it over the years, going all over the country to different activities similar to this, where we go on week-long tours. We took it last year up around Lake Erie with some people from Canada and from the U.S. I think there was about 18 cars. We made a 10-day trip around Lake Erie, and it's just a good hobby to be in and a lot of fun.
Now, these aren't replicas of these cars. These are actual cars that were manufactured on that year.
Absolutely.
Big difference, right?
Yes, it is. These all have the original style engines in them. Most of them are painted the colors that the cars were originally. They've obviously been repainted. Original would have been varnish, and that only lasted 3 years.
Now, how did it come about that people decided to keep and reflect on the history of automotive? Like, how did that start? See this little boy right behind us. Like, look at this old car. Look at this old car. How cool is that? So how did that begin? Why did people decide to save them?
Actually, people save everything. It's just that the older cars here, they had no resale value. So people put them in the back of barns or one place or another. They didn't know how to drive them. A lot of the cars, they had their children, teenagers, drive them for them, and that just ended up. And approximately 1935 through 1937, they discovered that the AAA was not servicing old cars. They only wanted everyday transportation cars. So 4 large clubs sprung up around the United States. And it is interesting that all of a sudden people started developing an interest in it, and we've had it ever since.
Meet me in St. Louis, Louis, meet me at the fair. I do a lot of singing on my show, but this is in particularly exciting to me because I'm talking to a man from St. Louis, not just any man, but Mr. Dorris, Dorris. He's the grandson of the Dorris family. How are you, sir?
Namesake.
And namesake.
And the third.
And the third.
And there's a fourth and a fifth.
Tell us about your family's rich history going back to St. Louis.
My grandfather started manufacturing these automobiles in St. Louis in 1905, 1906 model year, and manufactured these cars through 1925.
Now, in St. Louis, they had like Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and all these different car dealerships, right? How did your grandfather start selling these automobiles?
He didn't sell them, he made them.
Okay.
Okay. He built them, he engineered them, and he started not in St. Louis, but in Nashville, Tennessee. And he built a car in about 1893 or 94. He started and finished it by 95 or 96. Made a round trip from Nashville to Lebanon, about 30 miles, so a 60-mile round trip well before 1900. He moved to St. Louis in 1897 or 98 and started the St. Louis Motor Carriage Company, which built automobiles on Vandeventer between Cook and Page. You know where that is. And you don't go there except on Sunday morning early. I hope this isn't shown in St. Louis. And they built cars there for 5 years. And the company moved to Peoria, Illinois. And he either elected not to go to Illinois, or thought there were other opportunities, or his wife said, Peoria?
If it plays in Peoria, right? In advertising.
Anyway, he stayed in St. Louis and got new backing and started the Dorris Motor Car Company.
And what do you love most about having this rich history? What do you love most about your particular Dorris?
Well, this is a new car to me. I've only had this since August, and but I have others, and I like them all. You know, I've chased them my whole life. I know where they all are, I think. And
Like they're family members almost for
they're
you.
family member. This is Alice.
Ah. Alice. There's also a rich history from your family of other things that St. Louis history that John was telling me about. There's other things that you're known for. That you know?
Well, I mean, maybe. Well,
John said there was. Tell us about this particular car.
This is a 9, a Model D. It was one of about 175 they built in that year, the 4th model year. Clever A, B, C, D, you know. And it was at Harrah's in the late 70s, I guess. I saw it out there, 77, 78. They had an auction in Reno. And it was eventually sold to John's predecessor, who was the editor of the Gazette. His name was Mike Roberts, and he painted it and put it back together. And it went to Canada, and then it sold from a museum in Canada, sold to a very distant cousin of mine in Peoria, in Bloomington, or the Bloomington area. And I bought it from David this summer.
Here it is, Mr. Dorris!